Welcome everyone to episode 25 of this Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program First Contract. Now you'll remember from the previous episode we have launched this asteroid hunter. It's currently in a very northerly orbit, so you can see it there approaching the poles, and it has our three intrepid astronauts, Bill, Jeb and Bob, all ready to go on their way to capture a Class C asteroid. Now we still have quite a few days to go before the asteroid arrives, so we've got to find something to do. Now we have used a little bit of fuel from this main stage, so I thought we could do something we haven't done in this series so far, which is actually make use of the docking ports and dock a refueler. So let's go into the VAB and build one, and let's just trickle in those last few litres of fuel ready to capture our asteroid. I'll see you in a minute. Doesn't time fly? Here we are in the VAB and we're going to build ourselves an asteroid refueler. So let's get our probe core. We won't make this a manned craft. Right, now we need some fuel. Now we know from the previous segment we need about 200 units of fuel. Now these are 90 each, these are 180. Now that's not quite enough, so what we can do is we can use these bi-couplers. Let's turn this over, like so, and join together in a rather attractive pairing two tanks. Now while we're here, let us discuss a little problemette that these bi-couplers will often cause. Now most parts that allow fuel crossfeed in both directions, so fuel going from 2 to 1 in this case, or from 1 to 2. But that's not true of these stack couplers, these tri-stack, we've got what, bi-stack, tri-stack and quad couplers. They only allow fuel to go from the single side to the dual side. So they only allow fuel to go to multiple engines from a single tank, not in this direction. So this, if we turn this around, if we were to turn that around, let's imagine it was this way around, this is not a valid configuration. You can't do that. That doesn't work. And that is really confusing and really annoying, because this is kind of like a bit space agey. This, like, you know, that looks quite good really, but it actually doesn't work. And that can be very confusing. So bear that in mind. If you are ever trying to build something using these devices, you can put multiple engines on, but not multiple tanks. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to dock this space age-like contraption. So let's go over to here and let's get ourselves a little docking gantry or pointy thing, whatever you want to call it. Let's get a clampetron. Here we go, clampetron docking port, and let's tack that onto there. So that will squeeze in nicely between the engines on our asteroid hunter. Let's get some lights so we can see what we are doing. Put them down here. We need 4 of them. Let's have 4. And let's just focus these up like so. So that should give us plenty of light. Okay, so we have fuel, we have lights, we have our docking port. So let's move down and start to construct our orbital maneuver vehicle. Now we're going to need battery. Let's remember what we're doing. We need battery. We also need RCS fuel, because you need separate RCS fuel for your actual last minute docking manoeuvres. So we've got RCS fuel, plenty of RCS fuel there. Let us get the rest of our rendezvous stage in place. Now we want to be as efficient as possible, so we're going to use this nuclear engine. Now of course, to actually do some manoeuvring we need some thrusters, and those thrusters can be placed in one of two ways. They can either be placed equidistant either side of the centre of mass, or on a small vessel bang on the centre of mass. Otherwise you get a sort of a levering effect and the whole thing starts swinging around. Now of course, let's test this because we're going to be short of a little fuel, so the centre of mass is going to move up slightly. So let's see if we move these up just slightly. That'll be close enough. So at the time of rendezvous, the centre of mass will have moved up slightly. These thrusters will be more or less on the centre of mass, and there shouldn't be any swinging effect. And even if there is, the control wheel ought to be able to solve it. So let's clear the centre of mass and carry on with our assembly. Now of course we have to add our can't do without panels. Some we can probably do without panels, but let's have them anyway. We need our good old flight engineer, but we only need one of them. So let's put our flight engineer in there like so. And I think that will make us a very nice rendezvous craft. We have our stage to do the sort of orbital manoeuvres, and then we have our stage to do the actual docking manoeuvres. So that's all good. Next we need our launch stage. Now this is going to be a very long rocket, so what I think I'm going to do is surround this stage with fuel to try and keep the rocket as short as possible. So we'll have our last section here for inserting into orbit. So we'll have the LVT-45 vectoring engine, and then we'll have asparagus stages on the outside. So let's have a pair of decouplers there and a pair of decouplers here, and then let's add our fuel tanks around the outside. See if we can get these neatly lined up, purely cosmetic, but there you are. That's the kind of guy I am. And for these outer engines we will use the more powerful LVT-30s. So let's get those in place. We need to set up our asparagus. So let's feed fuel that way and then into the centre. This is all pretty traditional stuff. And finally, so we can get the Kerbal engineer working, let's get our stages set up. So this is going to be the first stage to go, so that's that second group there. So let's move those there and just join those two together. That's fine. Right, so how much do we have? Well, we don't have enough delta V. This is the nuclear engine stage, but we don't have enough delta V in this final stage, but we do have plenty of thrust to weight ratio, and that's key to allowing us to add more fuel. So there we go, more fuel, 4,222. That should be excellent. That'll get us almost perfectly into orbit. Now the only thing that worries me a little bit is with these very long stages here, when we decouple, what tends to happen is the engine swings out, the head swings in and smashes here, and all catastrophe and all hell breaks loose. So let us use separatrons. Let's use a pair of separatrons there. Right, so that's for the second stage, so we'll put those in there and pick that up. Let's get this one in there. So that's the other set. That is the first set. Now what will happen is when we trigger these stages, the head will be pushed out and the body will fly through between the chaos happening outside, and hopefully there should be little or no damage. Great, right, excellent. So we've sorted that. Let's get our struts in place. You can never have enough space tape. So let's get... oh, I didn't do that very well, did I? So Let's pick that up, move that around one. So let's get that in there, that's a bit better. And do the same over here. Like so. There we go. Just hold those in place because again they could be quite floppy given how far they are from this bottom stage. Let's get our winglets because we can. Oops, too many. There we are, 4 winglets. We need our stability enhancers. Let's put 2 there and 2 up here just to hold everything in place. Let's get those into the bottom stage, and that is all looking pretty good. Let's lower it down a bit like so. Right, so let's double check. We have our refueling nozzle with our docking port, lights, plenty of fuel. We have there's our probe core, flywheel, batteries. Hidden under there we can just see our RCS. We have our can't do without panels. We have our main panels which we will use custom 9 to toggle. So let's set that. Back to parts. We have our maneuvering, our orbital maneuvering section, which is nuclear engine and a handy amount of fuel. That'll be plenty of fuel, he says. Then we have our asparagus stage round the outside. We have LVT-30 engine, vectoring engine in the centre, and then the more powerful LVT-45 engine in the centre. LVT-30 around the outside. There are our asparagus fuel pipes taking fuel around and then into centre. And I think our staging is all ready to go. So let's name this craft Asteroid Refueler Mark 1. Not that we ever have anything other than a Mark 1, because nothing ever fails, does it? So let's save that, and I think we need to head on out to the platform. I'll see you in a moment. Right, well, we're now out on the launch pad, and the first thing we need to do is set our target. And our target is the asteroid hunter, obviously. Now, the asteroid hunter is orbiting in this direction, so ideally, to get our inclinations matched, to reduce the amount of delta V we're going to need to line up with this orbit, we really need to launch when KSC is here and go in a southerly direction. Now, because the planet is rotating in this direction, it means if we go due south, the rotation of the planet will give us that velocity in this direction to give us more or less this inclination. Now, whether we need to go into a higher or lower orbit to allow us to either catch up or be caught up by the asteroid hunter is a bit of a secondary consideration, because we can adjust that much more easily when we're in orbit. So let's just get ourselves into position, ready to launch. So here we are, coming around now. So let's get ourselves underneath the asteroid hunter's flight path. Just line ourselves up, get the orbit lined up, and let's stop right now. So we're going to be going more or less in this direction. So let's get ready to launch. We have a daytime launch. Let's up the throttle. Let's get the T key on and launch away. Now we're going to be going ultimately in that direction instead of the usual east-west. So we're going to be going in a southerly direction, sort of that way, as the asteroid hunter comes from this direction over here. So first things first, let's keep an eye on our first asparagus stage, which we can see fuel is draining fairly quickly from that stage, as we can see here. So let's get ready to launch that stage. Let's get Kerbal Engineer up. Got about 16 seconds to go in this stage. 13, 10, 7, and there's 5, 2, and go. There we are. See the Separatrons doing their job. Hopefully we won't damage any of the buildings below. And we'll begin our turn as usual at about 10 kilometres. So there goes 8 kilometres. Still have over a minute's worth of fuel in this stage. Now the most important thing is to get into orbit, so we'll concentrate on that element first. And let's just start turning ourselves over. Nice and gently over to the 90-degree line. See our prograde vector following us. And we can just see the pink reticule representing our target. So there we go, nicely over. Now one handy feature of the rendezvous element of Flight Engineer is we can see our relative position to our target. Now we'd like this to be 0, but I don't suppose it will be, but we can adjust that later. As long as it's not sort of hundreds of degrees out, we'll be just fine. Now the most important point is we need to get at least 100, so let's keep an eye on our fuel and our trajectory and just make sure we get a decent apoapsis. Like we're deviating slightly, but we'll correct that later. 3 seconds, 1 second, and away. So up we go. So we're almost at an orbital height, but we've got to get up well over 100, I would have thought, just to make sure we're safely in orbit. Now as you can see, we're drifting away because of the rotation of the planet. So we will have to be careful. We can see we're 7 degrees off. There's that 7-degree mark. But it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. So let's just make sure we keep going up. Now we've only got about 30 seconds left of fuel. And let's see if we dare try making any adjustments. See if we can kill some of... Probably a bit late now to be killing any of that, so let's just worry about getting into, let's say, 150 orbit. There we go. Let's just find our apoapsis and just extend it as usual. There we go. So that's 70, 92, or 150 this side, so let's just extend it. 126, 134, 137. That's plenty. That'll do just fine. That'll do just fine. Now, the only thing we will then have to worry about is the fact that our nuclear engine has considerably less thrust than our main engine. So I am going to start this circularization activity well before we have to. I'm going to start it now, in fact. So let's Z and start circularizing now. So we're going to get through this little bit of fuel very quickly, and we will separate now. And our very efficient but fairly weak engine is now going to carry out the rest of the circularization activity. Now we'll be in a higher orbit, which is great because it means the asteroid hunter in a lower orbit will be catching us up, so that's going to be ideal, assuming we actually get into a circular orbit. But we should be fine. We have plenty of time. We have an estimated 2 minutes of burn, and we're not even at the node yet, so we're probably going to have quite an eccentric orbit. Maybe I was a little under-optimistic on how we were going to do, because our apoapsis is creeping up, and we're still getting through our delta V pretty sharpish. Still, we have plenty of delta V, I think, to complete this manoeuvre. Let's just keep an eye on our progress. We're about halfway through our delta V burn. Our orbit is expanding. You're just about to see it moving there. So that's about 2/3 of the way through, I think. Let's get our resources up just so we have an idea of how we're doing. Now we can see our periapsis here. Apoapsis, because we started so early, is actually creeping up, but that's not a problem. So we should be seeing a periapsis quite soon. So -15, -10. So there we go, there's our periapsis. And we want to get that up to 120, 130. And that'll give plenty of opportunity for the asteroid hunter to catch us up. There we go. Now we don't want to go too far, let's not waste too much fuel. So rather eccentric, but not so bad. So let's begin with a node here just to cancel out. There we go, just to cancel out our difference in inclination. Don't really need a Kerbal engineer anymore. And let's see if we bring in our orbit. There we go, we get 2 indicators for our intersection, not too close together. Target position at intellect 2. So I think our eccentric orbit has resulted in us rather being overtaken. So we're going to have to make some adjustments for that. We're probably going to have to duck inside, which means we're not going to be very efficient. So let's hope our super efficient engine will enable us to make the rendezvous without running out of fuel. So let's just maneuver around to our maneuver node. There we go. Let's just make sure our panels are out. We don't want to run out of electricity. All this maneuvering will take battery power, so let's make sure we are getting as much charge as possible. So back into map mode. I think I'll actually get, we will actually get flight engineer out, because this is going to take half of our existing delta V, so we've got to be very, very careful. Cross fingers. So 15 minutes for a burn of 53 seconds, so about 26, 27 seconds before the node. So let's just speed up time and get ourselves around. You see, we rather overdid it, and our asteroid hunter is now disappearing underneath us. Let's just keep an eye on the prize. In this case, it's the node time. So we're going to go on the 26, let's say. Just reducing warp. Here we go, and let's Z. And let's burn through that delta V. Now you can see just that slight angle is going to use up a heck of a lot of delta V, so as close as you can get it on launch, the better. So about halfway through our burn. Almost there. let's remove the maneuver node. So yeah, 0.2, that should be fine. But of course, now we're quite a long way away from our asteroid hunter, so I think we're going to do a handful of orbits just to see the asteroid hunter catch us up for a second time. So let's go round to a warp of 100. We're just crossing the boundary of warp. So we will be dropping between 50 and 100. Here we go. Let it get ahead of us again. So it's going to be a good few orbits before it catches us up for a second time. But patience is a virtue. So down to 50 again. Still got fuel and electricity. Electric charge is still going because we're almost permanently in sunshine. So that's good. Let's go up warp time again. So it must be about 30% or a third of the way ahead of us now. So maybe another 2 or 3 orbits. Still can't quite get up to another level of warp. So down to 50. And let's speed up again. So almost half now. There we go, that's probably about half. And there'll be warp dropping down again, there we go. It's up warp again. Just keep an eye on the markers. We can see where the intersects are in the orbits, and when they get very close we will start making adjustments accordingly. So what are we now, about 60 or 70% of the way as we drop down warp again. So maybe another 2 orbits. It's speed up time again. And here we're coming round, so it's going to be close on either this or the next orbit. So what I think I will do is I will look to make adjustments on the next orbit. There we go. Maybe not. Maybe that's not close enough. Maybe one more. It's coming round. Yep, I think this is going to be the orbit. So let's maybe move it on just a little bit. Yes, there we go. These are the target positions for the next orbit. So let's see if where should we do it? Let's do a maneuver here, because we can take the opportunity to cancel out the remainder of our, is that the right way? 0.2, 0.2, 0.6, no, wrong way. Go back this way. Whoop, there we go. You see them flip. Minus 0.3, that's even worse. There we go. So 0.0, so we're bang on there. And now we just need to either speed up or slow down. Now, slow down a little. We have 9 kilometer 12, so speed up. 4. 4.1. 1.5. It's getting closer. 1.5. 0.1, 100 meters. No chance, absolutely no chance. I will never be that accurate, but if we can get it that close, all the better. Now this is only going to take 10 meters a second. That's good news. So let's get lined up. Now this is a tiny, tiny burn in 2 minutes time. So let's speed up time to get round to that point. There we are. You can just see, we can just see us there. And we're going to do the tiniest of burns at around 1 second. So there we go. After all these orbits, it's actually turned out marvellous. Tiny adjustment and we'll be bang on. Couldn't have planned it, well, I didn't plan it better. So let's just do our tiny burn. Just trickle it out. There we go. Marvellous. Now point 2, there we go, point 2. I think that will do just nicely. So that'll be on the next orbit. So let's roll round to the next orbit. You can see the asteroid hunter catching us up. Speed up time just a little bit. We'll get a free time warp drop up here, so we'll get a bit of warning. Now we're actually ducking slightly underneath the asteroid hunter at this point. And here we come. Right, let's go back to normal mode and let us find our reticules. Now the first thing we need to do is to cancel out our relative speed, and we do this in the usual landing method, so herding the yellow reticule towards this pink reticule. There we are in the distance. So let's just get a little bit closer. Let's just allow our two ships to come within a few hundred meters, but I think we need to cancel out that 150 meters a second, maybe at about a kilometer in. I don't want to risk zooming by. That would be the worst that could happen at this point. So there we are, 4, 3. So let's reduce time warp, just make sure we are ready to herd. There we go. So let's start cancelling out our velocity. Maybe left it a little bit late. A lot late. Never mind. Never mind. I forgot how weak and feeble this engine is. There we go. So, how well did we do? A kilometre. That's actually not bad, is it? That's not bad. Kilometre. Now with the yellow reticule, the pro-grade yellow reticule, you pull that towards your target. So let's pull that by being slightly the other side. And we have a target speed. I'm not going to go any more than, now that I've overshot, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I am going to go less than 5 meters towards my target. And let's prepare to cancel out my velocity again, because we're not on exactly the same orbit, so we will drift apart. So this won't be a perfect approach first time. Now, rather than just increase velocity, I'm just going to increase time. You can see these are just very slowly drifting apart. Very, very slowly. So I think they've drifted apart enough. So let's herd the yellow reticule back again. Just very gently. There we go. And then let's repeat the exercise and keep doing this till we get to about 100 meters. and then we will go into docking mode. So let's forward. There we go. Let's just plonk ourselves on there. 500 meters. Let's just speed up just a little bit. And let's turn around again. And get ready to decelerate. So we'll speed up time just a tick. Again, doing this entirely in daylight is good for you, and it's good for my batteries. Some mountain ranges there, don't know where they are, somewhere near the South Pole, I guess. So our reticules are drifting apart, so let's herd our reticules back together again, just with the tiniest of trickles. Now we're getting close, we don't want to completely mess up. Relative target speed is now just, well, 1 meter a second, so we're almost stationary, relatively speaking, so just a tiny tap. There we go, and we're heading towards our target again. So let's get round and be ready to slow down. Now I'm not going to overdo it as we did on our initial approach, so let's just speed up time again. Looks like we're drifting away. I think we're drifting away now because we're doing such a small relative speed. And even the slightest movement of the craft is sending us away, so we're almost dead in the... I was about to say dead in the water. That doesn't really work. So let's just head directly towards our target now. We're only 340 meters out. There we go. Let's pull our reticule over. 2 meters. 2 meters per second. 2.3 meters per second. So let's swing around, and this should probably be our last adjustment as we get to within about 100 meters. I think here we are coming right onto the South Pole now. I think we should get a shot for the records. Coming up to 200 meters. Get ready to cancel our velocity. Still have 39 seconds at full burn, so that should be just fine. And we'll have some spare fuel left in here, I think, so we'll be able to deorbit this piece of space junk, as it will soon become. ...160 meters. Closing in just nicely. 140, 130. We'll stop it a little bit under 100, I think. 120, 15, 10, and let's just gently bring ourselves to a relative standstill. 0.2 meter. Couldn't be better, could it? Well, with that rendezvous done so well, I think we're going to leave it here. I'd like to thank you for watching and hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.